There's a request for Surah Fatiha for Fida Hussein ibn Akbar Ali and Tahir Ali ibn Akbar Ali. If we can recite Fatiha for that. Bismillah. Okay, some ahkam before we start as usual. Before I say anything, does anyone have any questions on ahkam? Anyone have any questions that they remember? Nothing.
You normally fix the date for taking out your homes.
Yes.
And if you want to take out earlier, can you do that?
Yes, you can take out earlier. The question is, people who have khums dates, can they take out their khums before that khums date? Yes, they can. If they have a money that is liable, or an asset or whatever that is liable to khums, they can take out the khums before their khums date arrives. And if their khums date arrives, they won't have to pay for that particular thing. There might be some explanations here and exceptions. For example, if that thing goes up in price after that, then that portion that it has gone up might be liable. It depends on your marja, and it depends on the scenario. Different scenarios might come up. But now that you said that, let me just explain one thing about khums date. One's khums date is something that is not chosen by you. It is something that happens by itself. What do I mean? Ayatollah Sistani, he explains in his Risala, he says, the first day you start working at a regular job, that's your khums date. Al-Khamenei says the first paycheck you get from your regular job is your khums date. Sometimes people will determine their khums date, just, they'll say my birthday or some other day. That's not how it's determined. It's determined by your job, if you have a regular job, which usually in the West, that's how jobs are. They are regular jobs. If it's a regular job, the first day you start working according to Al-Sistani, and the first day you get your first paycheck according to Al-Khamenei will be your khums date. That will be the beginning of your khums year, and then next year when that date arrives is when you have to calculate your khums. And of course, khums goes like this. When the khums date arrives, you look at what you have. You either have money that you've earned. If it's money that you have earned, then 1/5 of it is due. If it's things that you buy, food stuff, or things that, when you use them, they perish and cease. For example, rice. For example, food, ice cream, gas in the tank of your car, I don't know, anything that is used, it goes away. That is also liable, 1/5. Other than that, if you've spent that money throughout the year on things that you needed for your normal life and living, then that's not liable to khums. Of course, there's a lot of other details here as well regarding khums, but that's the overview of it. That's the overview. There's one big difference between Ayatollah Khamenei and Ayatollah Sistani. Ayatollah Sistani says if it's your earnings, or even if it was a gift, it's still liable. So if someone gives you a big lump of money, it's liable to khums, even if it's hadiyah, for example, or if it's hiba, or if it's whatever it is. But Al-Khamenei says no, only earnings are liable. This is a major difference between these two greats. Imam Khomeini also had the same ruling as Al-Khamenei. But most of the Maraja, they have the ruling of Al-Sistani. A majority of them, they say even if it's a gift or whatever, it still is liable. Yes, one more rule. Yes, brother.
I remember now.
Yeah.
So sometimes, we have a dirty hand and washing with soap. What I noticed, people will wash their hand and then, just waiting and drying their hands in the air. Oh, we cannot do the wuzu until it is dry.
Yeah. So this is the question, I'm just repeating it so the sisters can hear. Can we make wudu when our hands are wet because we washed our hands before? We were playing in the rain or snow, whatever. if the parts of the face or hands that have to be washed in wuzu, they're wet from before wuzu, can I still make wudu or not, or do I have to dry it first? This is a good question. The answer is, if it's on the parts of the body that you wash for wudu, or ghusl even, that you wash, then you don't have to dry it. But if it's on the parts of the head of the body that you have to do masah on, then yes, you have to dry it, because masah, the wiping of the head and the feet, has to be done with the water that was used for wudu, not any water. But for face and hands washing, or for ghusl, if a ghusl has become wajib, if your body is totally wet from before, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. If there's enough water already on you to use that water even, they say it's okay to use that water even for ghusl. Yes? But you can also pour new water on it. It's okay, perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah? Yes.
Is homes due on inheritance money?
Ahsan, that's a good question. Inheritance, I have to check Sistani. From what I remember, it doesn't apply. I'm pretty sure Sistani is the same thing. That inheritance doesn't apply. But I'll check just to make sure, inshallah.
How do you establish if you don't get the paychecks?
Yeah.
How do you establish the date?
If you don't have a paycheck because you don't have a job,
You have no job, or you retired, or you...
well, if you're retired, still, you used to work 50 years ago, right? That first time that someone worked, that's their home state. If they've forgotten, then there's a way of fixing it with the office of the marja and things like that. But still, it's that one. So if a person has a home state, that home state remains forever. Remains for them forever. So then now you have to remember your birthday, and you have to remember your wedding date, unless you want to die. And you have to remember your home state. It's one of those dates that, it might be a very awkward date of the year, but you have to remember it. May 13th, for example, something like that. You'll have to remember it forever. Now, if someone doesn't have a job at all, what about his home state? He doesn't have a home state. So for him, if he ever does something, mows the lawn of somebody, shovels the snow for somebody. You don't get snow here though, do you? If they do something like that, whatever, earn money somehow, but they don't have a regular job to have a home state like that, if they use that money, let's say they get it on May 10th. If they use that money before May 10th of next year, then then they've used it for whatever they needed, and it's okay, they don't need to pay homes. But if that money remains for 1 year, until next year's May 10th, then it's liable. This is for people who don't have a home state though. If a person has a home state, let's say May 10th, if he makes money on May 8th, 2 days pass, and the home state arrives, it's liable. It's not like every money that I make 1 year has to pass on that. That's only for those people who don't have a home state. These issues, they come up a lot. That's why we have to continuously ask the office, ask again and again. These are things that we've asked again and again and again. These are the explanations that they have given regarding home state. Alhamdulillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Inshallah, towards the end of the lecture, we'll talk a little bit about Lady Khadija, and we will have a zikr musibat for her and the anniversary of her passing, inshallah. Today we're going to continue with the tafsir of Surah Al-Insan, so that inshallah we can finish. We were talking about the verse that says, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. Yes, brothers? It says that we are giving you this Ahlul Bayt, that they gave their food in the way of Allah. The Quran says that they said, we are giving it only for Allah's face. And I explained what that means. We don't want thanks from you, we don't want compensation from you. O miskeen, O yatim, O asir. We don't want it from you. In other words, we want it from Allah. And I explained how this is something that they had in their heart. They didn't necessarily verbalize it, because it will hurt the feelings of that person, most probably. Okay, having said that now, the question that arises that we left for today is that if this is their intention, why is Allah telling us what their intention is? Who cares what their intention is? They're doing something good, right? And when you do something good, that's enough for it to be accepted by Allah. Allah wants to see how many good deeds we do. This goes back to what we explained before, that there are conditions for our actions to be accepted. Here, Allah once again is letting us know what their intention was, to reiterate and re-emphasize that good deeds have to be accompanied with an intention like this, that we're giving it to you, not for your thanks, not for your compensation or your money or whatever. We're doing it for Allah's face. Not only Allah, Allah's face, as if we want His special attention. The more pure the intention, of course, the more that amal, that deed will take us up. And then we have the famous hadith, La amala illa bin niyyah, wa innama al-a'malu bin niyyat. That our actions, that there is no action without intention. It has to be done for Him. Okay, so now we have a third condition for all of our a'mal. One was iman. Two was taqwa throughout the day. And this was explained before. And number three, which we all know, ikhlas has to be there too. La amala illa bin niyyah. Every amal, every deed, if you want to see how, if you want to measure how good it is in the eyes of Allah, see how much the niyyat is. Look at how good the niyyat is. وَإِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. And our a'mal depend on the niyyat that we have and the intention we have. Okay, this is famous, we've heard this, we know this. But there's a couple of points here that I have to make. Sometimes this hadith is misunderstood, or maybe it's used as an excuse for other things. What do I mean? There are two extremes, or two wrong ways of interpreting this hadith, and one correct way of interpreting this hadith, and similar hadiths like this that say, it's the intention that counts. Yes? Some will say, okay, what do? They take this, they will go and do the action and they won't have the intention. That's what this hadith is talking about. Their intention is flawed. What are they doing? They are doing something so that they show off. They're doing something so they get others' attention. We all know that this is riyah, this is haram and all of that. And when salat time comes, if you're praying like that, your prayer is batil. You have to redo it. You have to redo it. Okay. That's one side. Another side of it is those who will have the intention, but they will have no action. This is a part some people struggle with. What do they say? They'll say, you know, this salat that Allah has put, this fasting, you know, this giving in the way of God, all of these things. These, what God is after when it comes to these actions is the pure intention, the pure heart that you have to have. So, if someone already has this, then there's no need for this getting up and bowing and prostrating and fasting and all of these things. A person who has a clean heart already, a clean intention, it's enough. What are you talking about? Where'd you get this from? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. They'll tell you that's what the prophets were sent for. The prophet says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent to bring the lofty akhlaq to the people. So now we have lofty akhlaqs. There are some people out there that are very, very, very nice people. And they do very, very good things. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Is that the case or not? They will sometimes even use the word, that the verse of the Quran that says, وَعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. Prostrate to your Lord, worship your Lord until you gain yaqeen. They'll say, I'm always remembering God. I don't see this prayer as necessary. When it says do ghusl, ghusl is so that we become clean. Because back in the day in Arabia, people wouldn't wouldn't shower or bathe that much. This is encouraging us to be clean and hygiene. Prayer is for dhikr. The Quran says, وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. The prayer is there so that we remember Allah. I'm remembering Allah all the time anyway, so there's no need for this. Fasting is for what? For me to remember the poor. So what do? I'm always giving charity already, so there's no need to fast and so on. This is also a fallacy, a mistake, and a wrong way of understanding these hadiths. You can't take one hadith and say, I'm gonna go by this hadith. You have to look at the whole package. The whole corpus of Islamic literature has to be looked at. You can't just take one part of it. Okay. But then what's the right way? What the right way is, yes, you have the deed itself and the right intention. And this is what the surah is teaching us. They are giving it in the way of Allah. And in their intention, they say, we only want Allah for this. That's all we want. Okay. Having said all of that now, it doesn't mean that when they have this intention in their heart, if that person actually thanks them, they say, oh no, I don't want your thanks. I don't want your compensation. Okay, if someone thanks them as well, that's very good. If someone helps them out, compensates, that's very good. The point that's trying to be made here, brothers and sisters, is this. That it's not that they don't want any attention from anybody. No. What counts is Allah. Anything else, whatever wants to happen, can happen. They say Imam Khomeini, rahmatullah alayhi, he was sitting once in the beginning after they had achieved the revolution, and people are chanting outside waiting for him to come to deliver a speech or something. And they're all saying Zindabat Khomeini, Zindabat Khomeini. And one of those who was with Imam, he says to him, how good it is that they're saying this, alhamdulillah. Imam Khomeini says what? He says, even if they say death to Khomeini, I'll still do what I have to do. Yeah? For me, what he wants counts, the wazifa. The natija is in Allah's hands. Whatever Allah wants for the natija, that's what counts. Or else, I have to do what I have to do. Why? Why do you have to do what you have to do? Think about the natija. Well, I do what I have to do because I want His pleasure and satisfaction. End of story. Whether they thank me, don't thank me, help me, don't help me, whatever it is. Imam Hussein taught us this, right? Okay, so that's not the point, that we don't want thanks and all of that. The point is that Allah is letting us know that everything for them was Him. Why? Because three things we have here. Number one, they know that the people are limited and have limitations. Why should I even think about someone like this when I have someone up there that's unlimited? People have limitations. If you want to thank me, and if you want to compensate, and I'm doing it for you, how much can you thank me? How much can you compensate? Is it finite or is it infinite? Limited or unlimited? People only have so much capacity to make things up to you. How much? You're going to fill up my bank account? You're going to thank me for the rest of your life whenever you see me? Fine. That's all you can do. What else can you give me? That's it. That's number one. That's one reason why their faces are towards Allah only. They don't care what else is going to happen. Number two, their own limitation. Think about it. How much can we drive a good car? How much can we eat? Well, these nights we eat a lot. But in normal days, how much can we eat? Like, when you get full, sometimes, when you're at like this really good barbecue, you're like, man, I wish I could just detach this stomach that's full, put it aside, and just attach another stomach so I can eat more. And as a matter of fact, in the hadith, we have something like this. That on the day, in the hereafter, in Jannah, like, I don't know how many years, I don't remember, but I think it was 700. They say the guy, he's eating from this fried chicken. Well, it doesn't say fried chicken, but it says poultry or chicken or whatever. It says that. Whatever it is, roast, barbecue, fried, you name it. He's eating from it for like 700 years and it's not finishing, and he's not getting full. He's just taking more and more pleasure. And while he's eating it, the bird is singing this nice tune to him. While it's dead though, of course. The feathers are plucked and all of that, don't worry. But it's like this, and I think this is symbolic of how there is infinite pleasure. How much pleasure can we take here? You can't take too much pleasure here. It's over after 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's over. And you have to wait for the body to digest, and then excuse me, you go to the bathroom, and then all of that, and then okay, the cycle continues. But over there it's different. So these people say, even if you, ones who want to thank us and compensate, even if you were unlimited, and you could give me unlimited, I'm limited. I can't take unlimited pleasure. So once again, I turn to Him. He gives me the unlimited container, and He fills it up with unlimited pleasure and bliss and blessings. Number 2. Number 3, let's just say that the person that wants to thank me, the person that wants to compensate, is unlimited and can give me unlimited pleasure, one. And two, I can take unlimited and infinite pleasure when He gives it to me. Yes, let's just say that that's the case. But we live in a realm and in a world where our time is limited. And like every time you get close to thinking that, yeah, this is the place for me, you run into another fault, another deficiency. Now let's just say He can give me infinite and I can take it to Him. And I have the capacity to take the infinite. But how long will it take? 60 years? 70 years? 100 years before I die? So the time is limited. These three and maybe even more deficiencies is what causes these individuals to have such an intention. They say, I don't want thanks from you and I don't want compensation from you. If you do what you want to do, you do it, fine, very good. And I'll thank you for it. But even if you don't, my hope is tied to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because none of these limitations are there. So let me see, brothers and sisters, I want your attention for a second. Are we as Muslims who, restrict ourselves to certain things here in this life, are we the type of people who don't like pleasure? That's not the case. As a matter of fact, we are the most pleasure-seeking people out there. God has created us like this. Hello? It's just that we can't find what fulfills this desire of ours. We can't find it in this life. We might get a taste of it and we'll take it as long as it's not haram and doesn't compromise the infinite pleasure that's to come. We'll take it. But we won't see it as that. Some people are fooled into that. That they think that this world is what they're after. And that's why when you go to the sources, you find that Imam Ali, for example, alayhi salatu wassalam, it lets you know that the problem with this life, and even in the Quran, the problem here isn't the pleasure. We don't have trouble with pleasure. The problem is that it just dies out. It doesn't stay with us. Yeah, we're the most pleasure-seeking people, as a matter of fact. Like what? Najul Balagha. مَا لَعَلِيٍّ وَالنَّعِيمٍ يَفْنَى. Imam Ali says, مَا لَعَلِيٍّ وَالنَّعِيمٍ يَفْنَى وَلَا تَبْقَى. What does Ali have to do with na'im, blessings, pleasures, that have this clause that they yafna, they cease to exist after a while. وَلَا تَبْقَى. They don't endure, they're not enduring, they don't stay. Wait a minute, Imam Ali, I thought you hated pleasure, you hated dunya, you hated... Imam Ali says, I have a problem with this type of pleasure. It dies out. If I have to choose between the one that dies out and doesn't die out, which one do I choose? If I don't have any mental issues, I will go and choose the one that doesn't die. Of course. And if I can have both, I'll have both. What's wrong with that? If a pleasure is temporal and temporary, but does not compromise my eternal bliss, fine, I'll have both. But if I have to choose, which one I'll choose? The infinite one, very simple. It's not rocket science. Surah Qasas verse 60, وَمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. Look at that. Allah puts His finger on two things. He says, number one, the things that I have, that I want to give you, khayrun, it's better than what you have. So what we have here is good, what He has is better. One. وَأَبْقَى. And more enduring, it lasts longer. Which one do you want? Depends on how much I respect myself. And I make the right choice in life. Some people, they choose to waste their time as youth, choose not to study hard. Others respect themselves more and they know that there's a future, a financial future they have to secure. They work hard for it from right now. They have more respect for themselves. Same thing with akhirah. Khayrun wa abqa. Or another verse, Taha verse 131, وَرِزْقُ رَبِّكَ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. The rizq that Allah gives you, the good stuff Allah gives you, the sustenance Allah gives you, is better and abqa, more lasting, longer lasting. Which one are you going to choose? When you go to buy it, you pop a tire, you want to buy a new set of tires for your car, what do? You buy the better one that lasts longer, or the one that's going to have you back in the store again after like 3 months. Which one? It makes perfect sense. Okay. So now to give an example of these individuals, how they are. These abrar, they are looking to Allah and they're saying to this person in their heart, of course, that I don't need your thanks. I don't need your compensation. He'll take care of me. Now you can do it if you want. You can not do it if you don't want. Whatever. The example for this, so we have 3 people, 3 parties here. The abrar, I keep saying that I'm the abrar. Abrar, the person that's thanking, and Allah. We have 3 parties here. It's like when, once again, I have to go back to those examples that I don't like to give. Some guy likes some girl. And he wants to get that person's attention. It just so happens that she likes babies. This guy hates babies though. But he goes and now he shows that, oh, I love babies, and he was always holding babies and playing with babies, and oh, you're so cute. Does he like the baby? Does he care about the baby? No, he doesn't care about the baby. But since that person cares about babies and gets her attention like that, he goes, or else, he could talk to the baby, and he might even do that still. Sometimes when the baby's in the crib, they're like, listen man, I don't like you. I just want her attention. Or vice versa. Or like that lady who has kids from a previous marriage, and then now she's divorced, and now another guy wants her hand in marriage. What does he do? He goes and respects her children, buys them stuff and all that, but every now and then he might tell them too, listen man, the truth is something else. The truth is I'm after your mom, not you. I don't care about you that much. Same thing here, brothers and sisters. They're not saying we don't care about you, but they say that's what's important. If this is the way Allah wants me to get to Him, I'll go through this means. Remember yesterday I said, these are all wasila that we have, that Allah has set there for us, so that we can get to Him, inshallah. Recite salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Inna nakhafu min Rabbina, verse 10. Yawman abusan qamtarira. Not only is their intention, what's in their hearts, that we are giving because because we want wajhillah, la nuridu minkum jaza'an wala shukura. Not only that, plus this is also in their intention, that we fear a day from our Lord that is a frowning and severe day. Frowning and severe. Inna nakhafu min Rabbina yawman abusan qamtarira. Once again, we have a metaphorical verse here. We had wajhullah in the previous verse. Here we have yawman abusan, a frowning day. What does a frowning day look like? When a day frowns at you, what does it look like? That's funny. It doesn't make sense. Days don't have a face, so they could be happy and smile at you or frown at you. It's metaphorical. What's it trying to get across? What concept and message is this verse trying to get across? That either one of 2 things. Either that day is so hard and so bad that if it did have a face, it would be a frowning face, not a smiley face. That's one way of putting it. Or, as Allama Tawtabai kind of speculates in his tafsir, he says that this day, it's called a frowning day because in that day everyone is frowning and everyone's upset. One of these 2. Long story short, it ain't a good day. But now we have that issue that we talked about before. You said the mercy of Allah encompasses. The ill of that day is not widespread, but rather Allah's mercy is widespread. Remember? Kana sharruhu mustatira in the previous verses that we had. We have to see what's going on here and how to reconcile. Because here the verse is explicitly saying that day is a frowning day. I will just explain this very quickly and I'll leave the rest for tomorrow. It goes like this. In Surah Muddathir, we have a verse that's interesting. You can just read it and go over it. It doesn't, it won't really strike to you as something special, but when you think about it, as a matter of fact, it is special. Surah Muddathir, it says, فَذَلِكَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَوْمٌ عَسِيرٌ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ غَيْرُ يَسِيرٌ. That the Day of Judgment is a day that is hard. يوم عسير, a hard day. على الكافرين غير يسير. It's not easy on the kuffar. Okay, wait a minute. The Quran just repeated itself totally. It's a hard day. Next verse, a not easy day. Okay, that's the exact same thing. Let me explain this a little bit. I don't know where I remember I've gotten this from. Something tells me this is my own understanding here. But it's interesting. Follow me, and once we solve this and crack the code, it'll make sense. If we have a very, very strong guy that can lift some heavy weights, just the fact that this individual can lift a very heavy weight, does it make that weight a light weight? 200 pounds. The guy's benching 220. 220, is that light or is that heavy? It's heavy. But just because now he can bench it, does it make it a lightweight now? No, it's still heavy. But is it easy or hard for him? It's easy for him. So something can be heavy, but at the same time be easy. Easily endured. Just because it's heavy doesn't mean it's going to always be hard. This opens the door to a lot. When it says it's a hard day, but it's not easy on the kuffar, apparently, that means that for some it'll be easy. You want a hadith? A very hope-inspiring hadith? And I don't think I'll be able to wrap it up today. I'll open it up more tomorrow. It goes like this, that in Surah Maryam, it says, وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا كَانَ عَلَىٰ رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا. On the Day of Judgment, all of you, there will not be any of you except that you will be warid of Jahannam. You will be taken close to it. Warada in Arabic means to go on the edge of something, to go close to something. In Farsi it means to go in something. But in Arabic, one of those meanings is this. Okay, so you will go close to the hellfire. That's horrific. Because the hellfire, if you go close to it, it'll burn you. You don't have to go inside necessarily. It'll burn you. Okay, but this verse is saying everyone will go. It probably means everyone that wasn't muttaqi. Remember, we're always talking about taqwa, right? Taqwa, how good it is. Maybe those people are made, an exception is made for them. But then the next verse comes and says, ثُمَّ نُنَجِّ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا. Then afterwards, when all of you were taken close, we will rescue the ones who had taqwa and were obedient servants of Allah. Okay, so they're also going to be taken close. So we lost hope, right? The hadith comes and explains. Just because you're taken close to something doesn't mean it's going to hurt you. The hadith goes like this, that on the Day of Judgment, or in the hereafter, when people have made it to their destinations, and in Jannah, some people will say, didn't our Lord say that we will be taken close to the hellfire? What happened? We didn't sense it. Where was it? And a call will come that you were taken close to it. Apparently on the Sirat. You were taken close to it, but you were about to extinguish the hellfire. And the hellfire called out, take him away! He is extinguishing me and my blade. SubhanAllah. That is the power of taqwa and the power of iman. That this person was taken close, but he didn't feel it. يوم عسير فذلك يومئذ يوم عسير على الكافرين غير عسير غير يسير. It is a hard day, but it's not going to be problematic for those who are not kafir. It's not going to be problematic for that. For those who are mu'min. So it can be hard, but at the same time, It's not going to be something that bothers me. Now let's come to what we're talking about here. It says, إِنَّا نَخَافُ مِنْ رَبِّنَا يَوْمًا عَبُوسًا قَمْطَرِيرًا. We fear from our Lord such a day of frowning, a day that is a frowning day. That means that the day itself is a bad day. Fine, let it be bad. Let the ill be widespread, but some are immune to this ill. But then a question after this comes up, and that is that these were ma'soomeen. Why are they afraid of it? Why are they saying we're afraid of such a day? Inshallah, we'll leave this for tomorrow. Recite a salawat. Today, as you all know, is the day of the wafat of Lady Khadija Salamullahi alayha. And she was one that is very madloom. Why? Because she stood up for Islam in a time that no one would stand up for it. A time where no one shall know that you are the one who helped. Of course, everyone knows, but you won't get that recognition from people because no one is on your side. She has spent her life amounting wealth and putting together a wealth that is unprecedented for someone like her, they say. But then the kuffar and mushrikeen, when they see that they can't do anything to our Prophet because of Abu Talib alayhi salam, and Abu Talib's support, they can't kill the Prophet, what do? What they do is they besiege the Muslims. And they tell all of the tribes of Quraysh that you are no longer allowed to have any transaction with them. No one is to sell them anything. No one is to give them anything. All ties are cut off from the Muslims. These poor Muslims, they have to go to the Shi'ab of Abi Talib, a valley where Abu Talib tells everyone to go there. One of them being his nephew, the Prophet. They all go there, and of course it's a lot of hardship. We have all heard the stories of how they had nothing to eat, how they were barely surviving, these Muslims. In the beginning of Islam, people are dying, no one knows. No one cares. Of all these people, Lady Khadija, if it wasn't because of her wealth, and that great wealth that she had amassed, the Muslims wouldn't have made it. In these hard times, for example, a loaf of bread that here will cost you for example, $1, $2 will cost you $200. How long can you last? But look at how much wealth she has, that the Muslims are able to make it for 3 years until eventually they make it out. But her wealth is all gone. Her health it was detrimental to her. Abu Talib, once they come out, he passes away. A little bit later, Lady Khadija passes away. The Prophet is destroyed. And he has to leave Mecca for Medina after this because there's no more support left. Our Prophet has said, she helped me with her wealth. She helped him with her wealth in a way no one helped her, and when he mostly needed it. And Islam survived because of her. But now let's go to those last moments of Lady Khadija. And let's look at what this individual who has given everything in the way of Islam and the Prophet, and when she married the Prophet, she said, everything is yours. Now what are her demands before she wants to pass away? In her final moments, she tells the Prophet, "O Prophet, forgive me if there was any shortcomings." The same way Fatima Zahra told Ali ibn Abi Talib, "Forgive me if there were any shortcomings," before she passed away. What shortcomings? You're hurting the Prophet more by saying this. But she loves the Prophet so much, she wants to make sure. And then there's some reports that say Lady Khadija said, "I have another thing that I want from you, O Prophet, but I feel bad to ask you for it." So she tells her daughter Fatima to tell her father this. Tell your father that he gives that special kafan that he has for me that Jibreel brought, so that he buries me with it. And the Prophet, of course, he said, "I'll give it to you." And this is where they say, hadith says, Jibreel comes down to the Prophet and says, "O Prophet of Allah, she gave everything she had, all of her wealth for this deen. We will take care of her kafan ourselves." And Jibreel brings a kafan for Khadija to al-Kubra. And the Prophet buries her and weeps over her. And now he's all alone. He's lost Abu Talib already. Now he loses his only other support, Lady Khadija. But that's not the musibah, brothers and sisters. Let's go to Fatima to Zahra. As a little girl, the hadith goes on to say that she would go to her father, she would go and embrace, and she would go in between his clothing and she would hug him, and she would tell him, "Oh father, Ayna Ummi, where is my mother?" Fatima Zahra, as a young child, is getting familiar with this being an orphan. Where is my father? They say Jibreel comes down, tells the Prophet, tell her Allah sends salams, and says, your mother is with Asiya, your mother is with Maryam, Lady Maryam, mother of Isa in the heavens, in a home of gold, in a home whose pillars are made of red rubies. What a good way, at least, to let Fatima Zahra as a young child know where her mother is. But let's go back forward now to the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib. There was another time when there are little kids who have been orphaned. Imam Ali is pouring water on the body of Zahra. Zahra has passed away now, and a time comes when she is shrouded. Imam Ali says, "Oh children, come now, come and see your mother for the last time." Hasnain and Zainabain, they say, rush to their mother. Before the daughters make it, Imam Hussein and Imam Hassan are on the body of their mother, weeping to their mother, seeing her for the last time. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. If all of these tragedies befell the Ahlul Bayt, let's go to a time after Ashura. There was a time in Sham, another orphan woke up in the middle of the night. They say, Bibi Ruqayya has woken up. She says, I want my father. I just dreamed my father Hussein. Yazid is woken up by all the commotion, asking what happened. They say this little girl of Hussein is asking for her father. What should we do? He says, reply to her call, give her her father. This Ruqayya is crying and weeping. All of a sudden they bring the head of Hussein to Ruqayya. They unveil this head. Ruqayya sees the head of Hussein in front of her. Oh my father, where have you been all this time? They say that Ruqayya speaks to this head of Hussein. All of a sudden, there is no more sound and noise from this little child. They look and see that this child is fallen, motionless, next to the head of Hussein. Her soul has parted, her lips on the lips of her father. And Amin from the qalb of Zainab. Zainab, what is she to do now? The children of Hussein were my amanah. I have lost my dear Ruqayya. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. العلي العظيم. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم العز الأجل الأكرم يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك وعلى ملتك. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من خير أعوانه وأنصاره. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا وسلم ديننا ودنيانا، وعجل اللهم في فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان.